Now 2024 is finished, it is time to take a look at some of the biggest movies of 2025 that you need to watch this year. In at number 10, Final Destination Bloodlines. So starting off with Final Destination Bloodlines, for me this is something to look out for if you're a horror fanatic, as for me this is what I am as well. I love horror movies and this is definitely one to check out because Final Destination is returning after maybe 10 years or so, 10-15 years, something like that, since their last film. And even though the franchise left it off on a bit of like a slope with the last two films, I do think this one is probably going to bring the franchise back up again if they can make a successful sequel, whereas in fact if it does, then you know they might make more if you're one of those that wants more Final Destination movies, because they are full of really cool actionary deaths in which are only really uniquely associated with the Final Destination universe, with some of the best deaths possible and the most goriest ones possible as well. I think that everything about Final Destination, the idea of somebody seeing the vision, and then trying to change the outcome of that, but then everybody being hunted down by death in the seemingly accidental death sort of fashion, is probably something that I really want to see again, and I think it's something that a lot of people want to see again. And if you haven't seen the Final Destination franchise, I think it's definitely something that you need to be checking out in 2025, because this new film's going to be coming out and it looks very exciting. Let's definitely give it a watch. In at number 9, Thunderbolts.
Who are you?
I'm Bob.
Who sent you, Bob?
Nobody.
Yeah, for me, Thunderbolts is a movie that's going to fly right under that radar, especially if you're a superhero fanatic, because out of the superhero movies coming out this year, you almost forget that Thunderbolts is coming out this year. With the names of Superman coming out, if you're interested in Captain America: The Brave New World, and Fantastic Four, then you're not going to be that interested about Thunderbolts. But I'm one of those that thinks this is either going to go under the radar for one or two reasons. One, because it's either going to be really shit, and the others are just going to crowd out Thunderbolts. Or I'm going with the latter, which is that this is going to be very good, but simply for the bigger names, this one won't get talked about. And to me, I think that's what's going to happen. Well, I hope that's what's going to happen. Because the cast, the characters in this particular movie just seem too strong to almost fail. These secondary characters seem really, really strong and have a great idea of what they're trying to do, of bringing all these side characters together into almost like a Suicide Squad, putting all these super villains together to go on a massive mission. And heading that is Florence Pugh and David Harbour from Black Widow, and they were brilliant in that film. And I think bringing those characters in from other different films as well, putting them all together in a team, is not only utilising their characters, but it's also going to see where they're going to be in the MCU in the future. And I think that's going to be really interesting for us as superhero fans, because we get to see a movie where we haven't really got one main character being the face of that movie. We're going to get like 10 or so different side characters which we haven't really seen in a long time, and seeing them in this sort of role. And I'm excited for that, because we get to see what outcome and where these characters may end up in the MCU. In at number 8, Captain America: The Brave New World.
The circle's been compromised. Either you can't see that or you don't want to.
Yes, for me, if we're talking about MCU movies, this is probably going to be one, or if not the biggest MCU movie of 2025. However, I must say I'm not the most excited about this one as I am about Thunderbolts, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go watch this in 2025, because most of the future of the MCU is still unknown, and this one's probably going to answer a few of those questions of what's happening with the new Captain America in the Falcon. We don't know what's going to happen to him since the Captain America and the Winter Soldier ended. We haven't really seen this character at all, and we don't know what he's turned into or what kind of character this is going to be moving forward into the MCU, and how this new version of Captain America is going to change stuff like Steve Rogers did in the MCU, and it's finally going to see how this new version of Captain America is going to end up. And especially now that we're going to see Red Hulk in this film for the very first time in the MCU, see how he fits into things. And I think it's just going to be a really entertaining, different kind of MCU movie to what we've seen with the other 3 Captain America movies. And it's sort of that new generation of MCU superheroes coming through after obviously phase 3 when Endgame happened. I think now it's time to be pushing towards that next Avengers movie, and this one is obviously one that you cannot miss, because I think this one's definitely going to be building up to that Avengers movie, and every movie in the MCU now is like a must watch. In at number 7, Mickey 17.
I am feeling a little dizzy.
Oh, wow!
For me, Mickey 17 just looks like a really cool space, kind of weird movie. And it looks quite funny, it looks quite weird, and it definitely looks quite like the sort of stuff that I would definitely fucking watch. Because Mickey 17 is simply about these missions that people are allowed to sign on to, and Mickey obviously signs on to this weird project which is going to space, seeing a load of different places and being tested basically in space. And every time he dies, his body gets like copied and redone again, and that he wakes up every time that he thinks he's died, he gets woken up again in his bed as a brand new version of himself. However, one of the times that that happens, he wakes up and there's another version of himself sat beside him, and they've copied what he looks like, and now there's an issue, because if that happens, they're meant to kill them both or move on and then start again. However, that's all that the trailer shows. However, I'm really invested to that. That looks like an interesting kind of film for me, with Robert Pattinson in, Stephen Yeun, and I think there's another person in there which I might have forgotten, but it looks really interesting. And out of the movies coming out in 2025, this one looks a bit weird and a bit up my trouser, not gonna lie. In at number 6, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
And yes, this is more of one of those films that you probably need to check out, or curious to check out, rather than actual excitement from watching any trailers or anything, or seeing anything online, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is going to work, and I think this is probably going to fail. However, it's worth watching to see if it is going to fail and see if the excitement's going to carry it along. And it's a dinosaur film, so if you're interested in dinosaurs and interested in the Jurassic Park movies, it might be worth checking out to see if this is a good sequel or a really, really bad one. And for me, I think it's probably going to fail. Simple reason being, it doesn't have any of the carry-on casting from the last Jurassic World movies, like Chris Pratt and a few of these others that were in that film. And also the fact that it's going to be 5 years after the Jurassic World Dominion film. It's probably skipped along, and the last story that was told, I think, ended it in a good enough fashion to leave it and go, we don't need another. But this one's now going to be digging up that grave again and going, well, let's ruin the Jurassic World franchise even more. And I think it's really interesting to see whether this is going to be a good film or a bad film, because Scarlett Johansson is going to be the front of this film, and she has the potential to make this film work. But I don't know, I think it's going to be a poison chalice no matter who's in the driving seat of this film. Simple reason being that the Jurassic World franchise should be extinct, just like the dinosaurs, because I think the franchise is dying out. But let us know down in the comments down below if this is a film that really excites you. In at number 5, The Conjuring: The Last Rites.
By the power of God, I condemn you back to hell!
Going back to those horror movie fanatics, whether you're a fan of the Conjuring universe or not, this is going to be, apparently, I don't know how true this is going to be, but the end of the Conjuring universe. And I'm not going to lie, the last few movies of the Conjuring universe should have buried the franchise already. However, this particular one might just give it that ending that we've been requiring for the franchise for a very long time, and hopefully it does. But this is going to be a monumental movie of the last story with Ed and Lorraine Warren doing what they do best in, which is being these really cult horror movie sort of mysterious ghost hunters, in which are presented way better in the films than they are in real life. And I think it is finally time to pull the curtains on this particular franchise and start moving forward with other horror franchises, and this is the best way to do it, with one last film and announce it as the last. However, is it going to be the last? Who the fuck knows? Because we know Warner Brothers, and they turn around and say, oh yeah, this Harry Potter movie is going to be the last. Oh yeah, and we're going to now do a spin-off of Fantastic Beasts and ruin the fucking franchise altogether of the Wizarding World. But, you know, it is one of those, but hopefully this ends the horror movie franchise that we've grown to love, if you're one of those that love Conjuring Universe. If not, then you'll be happy to see it end. In at number 4, Happy Gilmore 2.
Gilmore. Big David.
yeah, this one definitely excites me this year because not only are we seeing Adam Sandler return, we are also seeing the character of Shooter McGavin return as well. And from the little trailer, it looks quite interesting, I'm not going to lie. However, you've got to remember the excitement and everything like that, it might not live up to the potential. And there is sequels that have failed after leaving too long of a gap in between, in which, let's say, Toy Story 4, that was a massive failure. And I think sometimes the gap in between doesn't work. However, I'm hoping it'll be more like a Beetlejuice or Toy Story 3, where you see the outcome of like, oh, that was a nice, great, nostalgic film, and I really enjoyed it. But we're going to have to wait and see, because I think, if memory serves, isn't this going to be made by Netflix? And if that is the case, there's a 90% sure chance that this is going to be an average to shit film. Because most Netflix movies, if you haven't never seen a Netflix movie, you're lucky, because most of them are shit. The endings are pretty crap. They're pretty average. It's going to be an interesting one, put it that way. And Happy Gilmore 2, I'm still hopeful that it's going to work out. Before we jump back into this video, guys, please do us a massive favour and smash that subscribe button, because you do not want to miss a thing this week, next week, and the week after, because we've got tons and tons of content planned for you guys. And you can do us a massive favour by smashing that subscribe button, joining the community, getting updates to all the latest videos, from the YouTube shorts to the actual videos. It is well worth it, completely free, and you will not regret it. In at number 3, Fantastic Four: First Steps.
It's clobbering time!
For me, if this is deemed to be expected to be at the end of 2025, then this must be one of the most anticipated movies of 2025, and one that you definitely need to give a watch to, especially if you're a superhero fan / fanatic, as this is something that you definitely need to be watching, because this is going to be showing the build up now to the Avengers films coming in 2026. This is what we're building towards. And this new Fantastic Four movie, with the new guys coming in, is really going to help to build up to the Avengers films, probably because Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom is probably going to appear in that film, and we're going to be able to see the early steps into how the new Avengers films are going to work. And like I said earlier, every MCU movie now is a building block towards those Avengers films, and every film you can see, you need to go and watch them. And it's not just that, I think we're really craving to see how the Fantastic Four are going to work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because we've never seen it as a group together. Obviously we saw Johnny in Deadpool and Wolverine, and we obviously saw Reed Richards in Doctor Strange 2, two different ones from two different universes, and we've not seen a complete Fantastic Four since obviously the remakes of Fantastic Four, and nobody wants to talk about those because they're shite. But this is something that we definitely need to see, and the anticipation for this film is probably the biggest out of all the superhero movies coming this year. In at number 2, Superman.
Crypto. Home. Take me home.
And yes, we've talked about some of the most anticipated superhero movies already, but this one for me is the biggest superhero movie of 2025, whether you agree with that statement or you don't. I think it will be, because James Gunn is now revealing his cards and revealing his vision of where he sees the DC universe coming to life with this new universe that he's brought together. It's going to be so big, simply for the fact that it's Superman. We love Superman. He's one of the biggest superheroes of all time, and now to see him in a new film in 2025 is something that we all want to see, as well as the fact that this is going to start off a new universe headed by James Gunn, and we're finally going to see all these jigsaw pieces coming together. And it's been so long in the making, because this got announced maybe 2-3 years ago, and we've not seen it develop since. Of this DC universe, we had no real DC movie last year, and now it's time to push on with this idea that the DC is going to go into a whole new direction with this Superman film. It's really exciting as well, because obviously we're going to get to see a new Superman. No longer are we going to be seeing Henry Cavill, in which is something where this movie could either show, oh wow, this was a huge step in the right direction, Henry Cavill was the wrong appointment at that time, or he might have been the right appointment at that time, but now it's time to move in direction with this new person playing that legendary character. Or was it a wrong appointment and that they should have kept Henry Cavill? Who knows? But only until we watch Superman will we ever find out. In at number 1, 28 years later. Yes, this is one that I'm really excited about and my most anticipated movie out of 2025, because we're getting to see probably one of the most iconic zombie franchises return of 28 Days Later, which was such a big hit back in the day, to 28 weeks later, now to 28 years later, in which is something which is really exciting. And it's sort of like a different kind of zombie iteration as well, with these zombies being able to run, being quick. But now we're getting to see what the effects are 28 years later and seeing what the difference is going to be with director Danny Boyle coming back. I think that's going to be interesting, and see if Cillian Murphy will make a surprise appearance in there. A lot of people said no, he's definitely not in the film, whereas others are still keen to know whether he's going to turn up, and I'm one of those people, seeing if we're going to get a glimpse of how he's living his life. But I think everything will play its cards right, and we'll definitely get to see this year, and it's definitely something that I'm really excited for. Let us know down in the comments down below, what is the most anticipated movie of 2025, or one that you definitely need to watch in 2025. Let us know all that jazz down in those comments down below. And if you haven't yet seen our top 10 movies of 2024, then check that out right now.